Hey guys, and welcome back to Castle Crush, and today we are going to be playing with a max mana deck here with all of the highest mana troop cards in the game, of course with extra crystal and mana ritual. So this is going to be some really epic, a really epic challenge right here. And my first opponent comes out with double Hollow Knight, and the biggest challenge with this deck, of course, is trying to wait until I can get my cards out there, because I don't have very many cards to delay my opponent, and a giant Unchained Demon is like worst case scenario. But luckily the mana ritual comes to the rescue a little bit. I decide I need to get those troops off of my castle with the dragon, and then I need to also flip those Hollow Knights. I just need to flip one, really, so that's why I went for the Black Knight, to do that as quickly as possible. And we managed to shift the momentum. That player really was putting huge pressure on me very early in this match, and it took a huge effort there to fight back. But once this deck gets going in my favor, it's very hard for my opponent to stop it, because I'm stacked with endgame cards. So once we reach that point in the match, then I'm usually in pretty good shape. I will say I am missing some cards that would be good even in endgame scenarios, such as the Black Witch, one of the best defensive cards, but she's only 6 mana, so she didn't really fit into this challenge, since I was trying to go for the most expensive mana cards in the game. The Valkyrie is probably the key card in this deck, the Valkyrie and the mana ritual. Pretty much the key cards, as well as the extra crystal. Couldn't really do it without those cards, because the mana cost would simply be too high to be competitive. But once I can get out these good cards, then it's game over for my opponents. The Orcs Horde is really good at just applying a lot of pressure. The Orcs aren't individually that great in 1-versus-1 scenarios, but they're pretty good at applying pressure, that's for sure. And now we can go straight in on this person's castle and pick up another nice looking win. Nice looking win right there. And I feel okay about how this deck is performing thus far. It's hard to push trophies with it. I don't think I'd use it for that, but as an actual challenge, if I can get it right, at least it can actually beat some opponents if I get the correct draw of cards. It's not like one of these impossible challenges. It's actually one that can be done somewhat decently. It's just not consistent enough to really use for trophy pushing. But when it works, it works. It's just, you know, if I put the Valkyrie out there and then my opponent instantly destroys it, then I'm kind of in a problem. Or if I never draw the Valkyrie for most of the match, I'm in a problem. So it's definitely a deck that's very vulnerable to bad draws. But if and when I get good draws, it can work out pretty decently. So the Orcs Horde is a good card for maintaining positioning, and it's really great for setting up ranged cards. But on its own, it's not that great against a lot of more powerful cards, such as the Black Knight and Mud Elemental. Dragon, it's kind of useless against those. Obviously, a Pirate is going to make good work of an Orc as well. So a lot of things the Orcs are not good against. I think they lose to a Fire Elemental too, so. But they're great for keeping momentum. And I'm really thankful I have the Dragon, because I have like no other Ice Elemental counters. This deck is very weak to Ice Elemental. But this match looks like I'm about to close it out with a double Dragon. And that should be game over. Picking up another quality win here as I try and push up some trophies for the new season. Okay, so let's get back in here, and this match, I've got the Valkyrie right off the start, which is a great draw, and I'm going right in with it, which is good because it looks like a potential rushing deck. So I'm just going to focus on getting 2 lanes kind of under control, and then we can go in here and try to really put some pressure on them. Unfortunately, the Valkyrie went down. You can see that without the Valkyrie out there, it gets a lot more difficult for me to execute this strategy. And that's what makes this challenge really challenging in many ways. The dwarf isn't doing that much damage, so I decided to just kind of ignore it. And even if that top lane only gets the archers down, that's still something. So... And since I'm at max mana, almost at max mana now, I just need to get rid of those extra crystals and start focusing on the Valkyrie. And I should be able to catch that Archer Queen. Archer Queen was a bit too exposed right there, and I'm going to capitalize and go in for the win. Good game. They almost had me, but I had just enough at the end there in order to make that happen. So, let's see here. I'm going to probably need to get rid of that Fan Dancer because of my Skull Kings being such a key component of this deck. Oh no, they have Ice Elementals. This deck is very weak against Ice Elementals because the only counter is basically the Dragon. So, I don't know. I decided to just go after the Fan Dancer. Probably should have gone for the Angel and the Wraith, but it's not like I'm going to get rid of the Ice Elemental anyways, more than likely. So, I should just really focus on the Dragon. Although for some reason, I play the Dragon in the bottom lane, which was not the correct move. Because again, I don't have a fire elemental. I don't have an ice elemental counter. So it just didn't really work out that well. But then I finally do decide to play it here. So we've got double dragons down, but they get a black witch. And I did not counter it quickly enough. And they got rid of the cards. And I kind of blew a fire elemental I needed for the necromancer. So that did not turn out well, and now they've got 2 lanes with ice elementals, and I'm really in trouble. So somehow, despite getting 2 dragons out there, their necromancer stacks were just too powerful in this match. And I actually do some decent damage there in that top lane, very interestingly. But I had nothing to delay the rest of the cards with very much, and unfortunately, I do end up dropping that match. So, that was unfortunate, but well played to them. So here was another tricky match, and I tried to play this one correctly, right? Because I'm like, okay, dragon against a pirate, that should be a good move. And I have 4 Skull Kings, may as well just play them and try to push back these Dryads. So I successfully do that. We've got good momentum here. I can see they do have arrows, which is going to make this match challenging with 4 Skull Kings. They just threw out 2 arrows, so I'm like, let's go all in on the Skull Kings right now. Because it looked like a good move. 3 arrows. And so that was their 3rd arrows they just dropped out there. So I'm like, man, they can't have another arrows. So I'm just going all in at this point. And they dropped down these 2 dragons. So in hindsight, probably should have focused on one lane. I thought I was focusing on the bottom lane. You can see I've got 4 troops down there. Looks like I should win the bottom lane, but then they come in with a clutch blizzard. And then watch this series of plays. So they come in with a clutch blizzard, Black Witch, into a shock. I think that's what that card's called. I don't even use that card like almost ever or see anyone else use it. I mean, that was incredible. It is good to use with Black Witch, but that was executed so perfectly with that Blizzard. They completely changed the tide of this match, and I just could not catch back up. I was down by too much mana at that point, and they just finished me off. Now, that was a lower leveled player, but if you look at their actual card levels, they actually had slightly higher levels on me in that match. Anyways, so I was just overall pretty impressed with some of those players in the past couple matches, but anyways, it was a fun challenge. So leave a like if you enjoyed. Let me know what you thought about this video in the comments and what other types of content I should create. I'll hopefully open that magical chest soon. So thanks for watching, guys, and stay tuned for more videos.